had one of the fake news groups this morning. Now, they were saying, what do you think President Trump had to do with it? I'll tell you what. Like, how about everything?
This week, Donald Trump applauded the historic meeting between South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, as Trump gears up for his own one-on-one with the North Korean dictator. But with these two countries taking historic steps toward détente, Trump is doing what you might expect. He's taking the credit. Joining me now is former State Department Senior Advisor Nayyera and Joe Cirincione, president of the Plowshares Fund, which advocates for a nuclear-free world. Good morning to both of you. And let me play for both of you a little bit of last night's, just to give you the sort of atmosphere that we're working here. And Donald Trump was in Washington, Michigan, rallying his base. And here is how the crowd responded to him and how they feel about his workings in on the Korean Peninsula.
That's very nice, thank you. That's very nice. No bell. I just want to get the job done.
Wow. Joe Cirincione, are you ready to pre-award Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize for, in his mind, making all of the talks between North and South Korea possible?
Well, there's two parts to this, Joy. One is this is classic narcissism, that he's responsible for everything that's happening. I think the North and the South Koreans understand Donald Trump very well. They have studied him very closely. They are maneuvering him into position to make a deal that they want. I think the Koreans are driving this process, both of them, Kim and President Moon, who's done a brilliant job so far in moving Trump into position. Did his tweets and threats and sanctions play a role? Yes, but not the everything role that he has. But here's the rub. It's actually in our interest to have Donald Trump think about getting a Nobel Peace Prize for this, to match, even best, Barack Obama's Nobel Peace Prize. You want to be dangling a shiny object in front of this president to get him to do something that he should be willing to do in the interest of the nation. Both the North and the South Koreans know that. I think it's actually in our interest to encourage this idea that he could get a prize, get a reward for peace, not for war.
That's an interesting take, Nayyera, because, you know, you have John Bolton out essentially also not only himself giving credit to Donald Trump for the warming or the thaw between North and South Korea, but also saying, hey, everybody is saying this. Take a listen.
We will be when we do sit down. I think it's something that the president has thought a good deal about already. And I think people around the world have already given him credit for establishing the preconditions for this to happen in the first place. President Moon of South Korea, for example, has been very clear.
And we don't know who the people around the world that John Bolton is talking about, but we do know that Donald Trump, according to the Washington Post in a January 20 piece, said that in a January 4 phone call, Trump asked South Korean President Moon to publicly give him the credit for creating the environment for the talks, that Trump actually asked to be given the credit. And so does this strike you as President Moon and maybe other leaders around the world doing that sort of maintenance of Trump, as stroking him and giving him credit so that he'll be helpful and not harmful to the process?
Sure. I mean, let's give Donald Trump credit for bringing us to the brink of nuclear war and having that threat loom over us in a way that it hasn't in the last 50 years, right? So that's the environment that Donald Trump helped create with his tweets directly at Kim Jong-un, in his complete derision of any type of negotiation. So accidentally, Donald Trump stumbled into what diplomats often do, which is use the threat of military intervention to create the type of environment that we've seen between North and South Korea today. But here's where we can't give Trump or his administration credit. We do not even have an ambassador in South Korea right now. So we are hearing everything secondhand through the South Korean translators. So when you see a tweet go out from North Korea saying, and the South Koreans tell us it means, oh, look, North Korea has made a commitment to denuclearizing. They've made a commitment to stop missile testing. The North Koreans actually said that they no longer need to do missile tests because they're ready with a nuclear weapon. So we are on our back foot here as the United States, as diplomats, and as the leaders of the free world, because we are reliant entirely upon other people for information about what's really happening on the Korean Peninsula.
Well, and Joe, I think there's something that for a lot of people strikes as a bit unfair when you have, President Moon, who's continuing. There's a sunshine policy that has been, attempting to get going for a long time between North and South Korea. You have, the Korean leadership themselves, particularly President Moon, doing a lot of really hard work here. And the idea that the American president, who's essentially withdrawn the United States from world leadership, wants to be the one to get the credit for the work that these guys are doing on their own. It seems a bit offensive, to be honest, that these guys can't get credit for their own work. But you made a really interesting point about the care and feeding of Donald Trump, that maybe, he doesn't have to do any work. They just give him credit so that they can get him to go along. This is Donald Trump on Friday in a joint press conference with Angela Merkel, a lot of people believe is the real leader of the free world, the president of Germany, talking about the Olympics and giving himself credit for that as well.
I think President Moon of South Korea was very generous in saying that we helped make the Olympics a great success because of the fact that, as you know, there was a tremendous animosity, there was a tremendous problem going on, and all of a sudden people started buying tickets because whole different feeling when North said, we'd love to go to the Olympics.
I mean, Joe Sorizzoni, people were going to go to the Olympics regardless of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not why people went to the Olympics, but is President Moon here just handling him by saying, sure, Mr. President, if you want to say if the people bought tickets to the Olympics because of you, fine.
He's handling him brilliantly. Donald Trump says that we got played in the past. They played the U.S. like a fiddle. Well, they're playing some beautiful music on Donald Trump right now. President Moon deserves a lot of credit, and frankly, he's underappreciated here, what he's been able to do. There's a saying in Washington, there's no end to what you can get done if you don't mind who gets the credit. That is the saying in Seoul as well, and President Moon is doing that. He arranged for the resolution at the United Nations for calling for an Olympic truce. He made the offer to North Korea to get them to come. Kim did come, and then Moon arranges this joint event at the Olympics that set the stage for everything, frankly, that's happened since then. And then he gives credit to President Trump to bring him in, to draw him into the process. And now the idea of a peace prize, that there could be a grand, big bargain, is irresistible to Donald Trump, and that's exactly what President Moon wants. And why is he doing this? Because he sees the United States as an equal threat to North Korea. Remember, the president and others like Lindsey Graham have been threatening to have a war over there, a war that would destroy South Korea. Now the two Koreas are united in trying to prevent that war, and that's the reason we're making so much rapid progress. A long way to go, but some very meaningful steps over the last couple of weeks, particularly at this Inter-Korean summit.
An excellent point that Nayyera, President Moon is doing this at the same time that Donald Trump is undermining the idea that any deal that was struck would even last because of what he's saying about Iran and that deal, which he's threatening to tear up. So President Moon is acting in an environment where Donald Trump is actually putting, information on the table that could be hurtful to getting Kim Jong-un to come to the table. Here's Donald Trump last night talking about the Iran deal.
Again, whatever happens, happens. Look, I may go in, may not work out, I leave. I'm not going to be a John Kerry who makes that horrible Iran deal. Horrible. One of the worst deals. I mean, how do you make a deal like that?
Nayyera, if President Moon can make a deal with North Korea in that environment where the idea of a deal being honored by the United States is being undermined by the American president, should we actually be talking about President Moon being the one who should get a Nobel Peace Prize?
Right. President Moon is the adult here in this scenario who understands that you have two toddlers, really, who are either going to throw tantrums and just need to be pacified so the adults can move forward with what really matters in the world. President Moon has made the effort to bring about peace. Donald Trump wants the credit, and Kim Jong-un wants a photo, wants to be seen with equal to the other world leaders. The challenge here that some people can say, and certainly the people at the rally feel that the United States has done a great deal without having to risk anything, is the reality is the United States is no longer a consideration as one of the adults in the room, that people can move forward without us being part of the scene, without us being involved. And you already have Donald Trump having a history of pulling himself out of business deals, pulling himself out of now potentially the Iran deal. Well, he pulled the United States out of any kind of trade deal in the East Asia and now wants back in, but the rest of the world has moved on.
Nayyera Haq and Joe Cirincione, great discussion. Thank you both. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you very much.